Welcome to Bout That Life Podcast. I'm Coach C. Collins.
Coach MJ, GGT.
And we're here to talk AAU basketball, life, and everything in between. Once again, I want to thank those who've been following, who've been supporting, who've been showing love to the podcast, whether it be on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, whatever you listen to or watch us on. We've been noticing, we've been seeing it, and we're going to keep telling you all the time how thankful we are. If you're new to this, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to listening, please go ahead, hit that follow button, hit the smash, destroy, incinerate, annihilate, the subscribe button. It helps us out a lot. One small click for you is a big help to us, so we really appreciate that. We're on episode 17.
Hey,
17?
Yes, sir.
I don't know why. I was trying to think of a NBA player with the number 17.
17.
I can't think. Andrew Bynum.
Oh,
I think had
okay.
that. I think he did that.
I think Jeremy Lin.
Ty, can you fact check me? I could be wrong. But I think that's
Yeah, he did.
right.
17.
So I try to I don't know why I guess I'm trying to be clever. I don't know. I just thought of that. But no, we're pushing out these episodes. Keep trying to give you guys good content. Let's get right to it. I'm definitely really excited to talk about our guest. It is still Jessup January, as you guys have been following enough. Yeah, Coach, we pretty much said we're going to call this Jessup January because we progressively went through Tet and then Meg, and now we're here with you. So, we're definitely looking forward to you. And then, quite honestly, I've been researching you since, I researched my guest period, but once I really started diving more into your background and stuff, man, I'm really impressed with what you do. So I'm really excited just as a coach to talk to you coach to coach and pick your brain about things. So I definitely look happy you're here. if I didn't reiterate that enough.
I appreciate being here, man.
No problem. So we'll get to his itinerary and who he is and what he's done. I definitely think this will be a great episode for a lot of the parents and the kids that listen to me to hear, because they definitely need to hear from a coach's perspective. And really get that insight. And I know Mark always likes picking the brains of coaches and stuff because he leans more on the trainer side, right? But, for me, I always love learning from other coaches. For you guys listening, because, again, some of you don't know who the hell I'm talking to right now. This is Coach Hernando Planells, right?
Yep,
I said it right?
No, you got it right.
Okay,
man,
perfect.
Right.
I wanted to make sure. First time I got it right. Hernando Planells. Let me get his background for you guys so you know who he is and where he comes from in this game of basketball. Well, he is right now currently the women's head coach at William Jessup, right? Hence the Jessup January thing. His background as far as coaching is he recently served as associate head coach for the women's basketball program. You might have heard of it, Duke University. They're pretty good. I think a few people know about that college, right, Mark?
Yes, sir.
So he has the D1 pedigree, in case people are like, oh, he don't know what he's talking about. Well, he does a little bit, I'm assuming. I'm pretty sure if he didn't know his stuff, they would have fired you pretty quickly.
Very true. Very true.
So, it also says you were assistant coach from 2013 to 2016, correct? All right, and then got that promotion, which is, again, congratulations and all. That's got to be an amazing thing to hear about, which we'll get more into. What's it say? Duke featured a top 5 ranked recruiting class in each season. Wow.
Nice.
When he was with the program, great job. And also progressing from there a little further back, says head coach of Wyoming Golden Eagles of the All-American Professional Basketball in 2005.
Yeah. Another minor league that went down the drain.
Yeah, it happens. I play in the ABA, trust me.
I coach in the ABA too, so I know, man.
Trust me, I know how that is. And then an NBA scout from 2005 to 2010.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Definitely got to talk about that more too. 2010 says he's named as associate head coach for Maine Red Claws.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've heard of that team. Yeah, I remember that. Let's see. Oh, well, and we're going to get to that more in the show. But the man is, I just want to say, I feel like we're cut from the same cloth in terms of, again, just learning more about you. You have your own podcast. You're just an author, right? Congratulations on that. You wrote a book.
I just wanted to put that in my Instagram bio, which is why I wrote it. Author.
No, I mean, that's the man. Again, like, obviously coaching, you've coached for years, and I'm sure you've coached a bunch of different levels. And then coaching college in itself is, man, I'm a JV high school coach and an AAU guy, and that's enough. I mean, I can't, your shoes. So it's like, my friends know, and Mark knows, and Ty know, and we joke about it. Like, I'm working hard all the time and try to keep myself motivated. I just feel like you're cut from that same cloth. So I think that'll be really cool to delve into more and more. Also says business owner operates Be Contagious Leadership.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's a great name for this time of year with the pandemic.
Yeah.
I have a Be Contagious T-shirt I wear all the time to the supermarket, and people just
I'm
look
pretty
at me.
sure they stare at you some kind of way.
I'm like, respect my body, look at my face. Stop looking at my T-shirt.
I love that. Well, without further ado, thank you for being on the show. Yep, we do it all.
I love this. A little clapping. I love it. Little crowd noise.
Welcome.
Let's get right into it. I want to ask you my first question. And like I told you prior to this, it's going to be kind of a general question, but I love everybody's answers, right? I wanted to talk about just your experience in basketball in general prior to the coaching, like, kind of what made you fall in love with it. You don't have to give me the detail every single step, but if you played AAU, kind of what was your AAU teams, if not one team, right? My team was Oakland Rebels. So, and just that transition and journey from, high school player, college player, and college coach, what I mean? Just tell me about that.
Yeah. So I grew up in L.A. My mom sent me to an all-boys high school because she was like, you're not going to go to a co-ed school because you're not going to focus. I was like, all right. Did that. I always talk about my playing career. I was one of those guys that I think up until I was like maybe 25, I was like, no, I was really good. Okay. And then after like 25, 26, I was like, no, I was sorry. Like, there comes a point you're like, you're just not that good. But high school, we had a great high school team. We had 6 guys over 6'6", so I just threw the ball inside and I just ran the other way as those guys scored.
That's an easy job.
Went junior college because I wasn't very good in school, and then I played for about a year. When I say played, literally just on the bench. I love the white towel. I just wave it all the time with everything else. And really, after a while, you're just like, I just don't want to play anymore.
Of course. Yep.
And then you discover full-time work and you do all these different things. So that didn't work out. And then fast forward a few years later, I was a high school coach. And I honestly wanted to get into coaching because I love telling people what to do, right? So I get to dress up and tell people what to do.
Right.
This is what I want to do.
I like that. I like that you're being that honest, because most coaches would say the political answer, that's the love of the game.
No. I don't like going to restaurants, drawing plays on napkins. I don't like any of that stuff. I wanted to do that. So I got into high school coaching, and then ended up having my son was born, and that kind of change everything, because I had to choose a path, right? I think what society tells us and this sort of responsibility thing that we've been put on is that, when you have a kid, you drop everything and you get a full-time work. And I was like, if I want my kid to excel at something, I'm going to be the example, right? So I've got to figure out what to do. So I said, I'm just going to stay involved with sports. I don't care, basketball, whatever else it is, I'm going to do it. So I did training. But then I had to make money. So I was a mortgage, not a lender, but I don't know. I swindled people in getting loans. So I did that. And then I just jumped into like different things. I coached at a junior college. Got involved with some professional stuff. And then in between staying in sports, I ended up, I went on an audition for a TV show called Slam Ball, which was like full contact basketball and trampolines.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to talk. I wanted you to say it, because he texted me that. And I was like, oh, shit, because I used to watch Slam Ball, bro. Like, the kids have no idea what we're talking about now, but I used to watch it. I wanted y'all to hear that, to see how they reacted. But, yes, that's hella cool, bro, because I used to watch that.
So I did Slam Ball, and, of course, coaching a sport that no one has ever played before. So you're telling these dudes to go hard, like jump. Like, I never grew up in jumping on a trampoline anyways. Like, I grew up in the city. There's no trampolines anywhere. There's no yards. So
that's crazy.
I did that, but then you end up meeting people, and I ended up meeting a guy named Mark Ellis, who does sports choreography on football movies. And he was doing a basketball movie. He called me and said, hey, I need a basketball guy. love for you to come out and help and see what it is. So the movie ended up being Coach Carter.
Very cool.
So the job was to, train the actors, make them look real, which is really hard, actually. You take the script, you got to go ahead and do that, and then you just choreograph the action. You try to make it look real. So I would do that and coach. Like, I'd go back and forth because movie stuff. I ended up doing like 12 or 13 movies. Actually, before I took the job at Jessup. I took a year off. I was working on a TV show in Richmond, Virginia.
Wow.
So there was that. And then I did all these minor leagues and just going. I went to go coach overseas. I coached in Japan, the Philippines. I ended up coaching in the NBA G League with the Celtics team, the Maine Red Claws.
Yeah.
And all this on the same line. Then my daughter was born. So now my kids, now I got a 20-year-old. He's a student athlete at University of Utah. He's a swimmer.
Nice.
My daughter's 17, a high school senior. And it's really doing all that. And then I never finished my college degree until I was 35. So I moved to North Carolina because that's when I was scouting with the NBA. Marty Blake, who was director of scouting with the NBA. And again, it sounds glamorous. It wasn't.
No, it's a grind. Yeah. I can imagine.
It was not.
It's got to be a grind.
But I would do different camps. And then I'd always do Coach K's, the men's camp, and Coach P, my former boss at Duke, her camp. And one day I was doing her camp. I was selling her book. She goes, "Hey, I've got a great low-paying, non-coaching job on my staff." All right, so I've got 2 kids. I'm 35 at the time. They called me and said, "Hey, are you done with your degree?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not done."
Yeah.
I said, "Do I have to be?" And this is their answer. Their answer was like, "Well, this is Duke." I'm like, all right, everybody, calm down.
All right, of course.
And then they said, "How long will you give me to finish before I have to start?" They said 5 weeks. So I had a statistics and a speech class.
Okay.
Speech class, I was able to get my neighbors. I did a speech. And statistics, Western Washington University had its own, go at your own pace. Finished that, got the job, but I wasn't an assistant coach. I was director of relations. So I did social media for 6 months, but my boss knew I was coaching.
Right.
And a coaching background. Then 6 months later, someone left. But during that time, I slept 3 hours a night because my salary was awful. I had 2 kids at private school. Wow. And I'm working that. I started a company called Resumes for Coaches where I did portfolios for coaches.
Yeah.
And then I was doing something called Synergy, which a lot of college programs use. They get all the basketball players. So I would basically cut up all these different college games.
Yeah.
So I did that. And then my boss called me. I remember where I was. I was at the drive-thru at Taco Bell ordering a 7-layer burrito, and she called me and she said, "H, so-and-so left. I want you to move into the assistant coaching position and go recruiting."
Wow.
I said, and I was silent. She was like, "H, you're not saying anything." I said, "Coach, let me tell you something. If we were here right now, I'd take the backseat of my car and make out with you." Decided to be on there. So then I got the job at Duke, and then great time. That is, we had great classes, won an ACC championship. I mean, you're at the high level. You
got to witness it.
Yeah, you're eating
there.
foods that you never thought you eat. You're on like, what's a charter plane? Like you're
right.
spoiled. I mean, at the end of the day, you're spoiled.
Right.
And then I took a year off last year. I also coached the New Zealand Junior National Team, so I did that. So, people would say that I'm unstable, which is probably true, or jack of all trades, master of none. But I just want to get stuff done. Yes. And then Jessup hired me and been on the job for 5 months.
Nice.
It sounds like they need to make a movie for you.
Yeah, right.
They need to make a movie for you.
Coach Etch, right? Coach Hernando.
Now, what's not in there is my kids grew up. I got divorced. I moved to like 3 different places. Like there's
the journey, right?
I gave you all the nice parts,
right.
But like with anything else, when you bet on yourself, you are going extreme high or extreme lows,
exactly,
and you gotta be ready to take it, anticipate it, and accept it.
You're talking to the right people in this room. Trust me, because I have kids and baby mamas. So and Mark, I know he hears it sometimes from the missus when he has to work and train these kids, and so does my man Ty over there in the camera. So we are
grinders.
We understand you got to work, but you still got a passion and you're gonna go for it. But no, it sounds like a lot of things in terms of the stars aligned and some being in the right place, right time kind of worked out. So congratulations.
But the other part too, I think you got to just have tons of faith.
Yeah.
Right. So my mom, I always joke around like she's either a Catholic one day or a born again Christian the other day. I don't know which one, but all I know is that she grew up like having my sister and I like recite Psalm 91, which basically like, yo, you're protected. Like whatever you do, no matter what, you could step on a snake, whatever, like you'll be good.
Yes.
So I always had that.
Nice.
Like, I get worried. I get like, oh man.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when you just keep, and you guys know this, when you just keep going and going and going, and then you adjust, and then you take a look at what's going on, and like, oh, I could do this, this, and this, then you're already doing more than others. And when you do more than others, then people all of a sudden like want to do what you're doing and jump on board. Wow. That's like the cycle that's been happening. And that's why I started Be Contagious, because like you got to have this energy every day to bring it. If you don't, then you're just like everybody else.
Exactly.
You can't preach to be different. Like you can't preach your athletes, right? To be different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Your parents can't preach their kids to be different if they're not going to be different.
Yes.
That's a huge part of it. So that's kind of like just been my grace the whole time I've been going.
And it's funny, little side note, because we were talking before the show, what I'm saying? It's funny that you were talking about how your mom is, and because my mom's like that too. Like you're half Filipino, I'm half Filipino, and a lot of people don't know, what I'm saying? Like you said, you were in the Philippines in 2012, and a lot of people know, like I know Chris, I played in the Philippines, and it's crazy, which is a small world, knowing that you were out there when I was out there playing. You said you were out there 2012. Yeah. I was out there 2010, 2014. And some of the things, like you said, like everything that you're saying is just resonating to me because, the grinding and how it is out there, in the Philippines, you know what I'm saying? And so you saying all that and your background, like, of course, it's definitely motivating and to see you where you're at, and you're still going. You know what I'm saying? It definitely motivates me, in what I'm trying to do, the craft that I'm trying to master and seeing and listening to you, being like, okay, I keep going. Yeah. I keep going.
That's it.
So that's pretty dope.
Well, then what brought you to Jessup? I mean, that's the biggest thing, because I'm pretty sure you hear that all the time,
right.
Because I really do look at someone in your situation and I'm sure you had quite a few options or people you could have called or networks you could have grabbed, or you know what I mean? What brought you to Jessup, and obviously that community and being in this community, right? Because Rockland is very different than a lot of other places, but it seems like your network, your life is giving you some good options. So what made you want to narrow it down here?
Yeah, it was one of those things when I took the year off, I wasn't exactly sure if I wanted to coach anymore. The other part, what I didn't want to be is I didn't want to be an assistant coach.
Right.
Right. And I had gone through, I think 9 or 10 head coaching interviews, didn't get them. It's depending on what it is, what they're looking for. And then the Jessup job was open, and I knew about Jessup a little bit.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I wanted to move out to California either.
Yeah.
And with COVID stuff, everything happening, so I went ahead and submitted all my stuff, and I just submitted my stuff really late because I was like, all right, fine. And then our AD, Coach Lance, called me, and it was like a 4-week process, and did the interview and everything else, and it's so funny because everyone else like, you came from Duke. What's funny is when I tell people I used to be at Duke,
right?
They're like, Duke. Like the Duke? I'm like, yo, how many Dukes do you know?
Right.
Because let's be honest. When I get on a plane, I don't look like a basketball coach. Right? I look like when you travel on the road at Duke, you gotta wear all the Duke gear. So I look like the world's biggest Duke fan. All the time, they'd look at me and they were like, "Oh man, you guys did really well last night." And I was like, "Yeah, we did, and it was great." And then I'd be watching video on the plane, and they'd be like, "Oh, you coach?" I'm like, "Yeah, I coach." Oh, like junior high? No, I don't. Like, oh, where? Oh, it's a small private school in Durham, North Carolina.
Right.
They're like, oh yeah, which one? I said, Duke. Oh, Duke. Like, oh yeah, the Duke.
Yeah,
man.
That Duke. Yeah, exactly.
Why am I wearing all this stuff? Anyways, I went off on a tangent there.
No, I can see that. That's hilarious. I can see that.
But then they hired me, and I made the choice to come. It's it's hard to get a head coaching job. And it's when you're an assistant coach, like you can go to sleep at night. Like you're not the one with the main responsibility.
True.
Right. So as I want to do. I've been a head coach a long time ago. Haven't been a college head coach. I said, all right, let's roll the dice. Let's see what I can do. And I drove out here, dropped my son. I was driving, dropped my son. At the time he's going to University of Iowa. He's transferred because Iowa cut swimming out of their program. So I dropped him off at Iowa and drove all the way out here to Rockland. And then I got here. I'd never met Meg or Tet before. I talked to them on the phone. I got here at Friday, like around 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Got up the next morning, met them at 8 o'clock at Jessup, and at 10 o'clock in the morning, I was out recruiting.
Wow.
The next day at a gym that I shouldn't disclose that they were open during COVID times. but yeah, you know, so and it's been great. It's been a great school. The ladies have been amazing. I always tell them, I think Tet said on when he was on, it's like there's no difference between Jessup and Duke. All it is ESPN.
Yes,
that's
he
it.
did say that. Yep.
And Southwest Airlines and a charter.
Right. Of course.
That's about it, right? But that's it.
But it's still a 94-feet court.
That's
right.
right.
Still 2 rims as far as I know. Like you know, what I mean,
you're still motivating them. You're still trying to get them going to a higher level, and it's been great. They've been really supportive with everything else that I do as well too.
Very cool. Very cool. That's what I was going to just say. How's that experience been? You know, you're the man. I mean, you're the, being the head coach so far. Was going to say your experience like the Jessup, I guess you would call it front office, right? The AD, the staff. Just how has that been going for you? It's been okay? Yeah,
it's been good. Stressful. I've gained 8 pounds since I've been here, and I don't know what I've been eating. But I'm like, man, look, my pants are tight. What is going on? So I think it's been good. I'm not, by nature, I'm not super organized.
Okay.
I'm really just like, we
good
can do this, and this.
I want to say good thing you have Ted on your staff.
Yeah.
Because he is.
Yeah.
Me and we're college roommates. So
right.
That's
Okay. Yeah.
Like I've known him and we're like really opposite if you couldn't tell. So it's a good thing you have him on your staff.
Yeah.
No, he'll do that.
Ted and Meg are great with that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm really a feel person.
Mm-hmm.
So even at Jessup, like we did not install our whole offense until December because I want to see what they naturally can do.
Okay.
Because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. What do you do? Well, great. All right. Well, let's enhance it. Let's move it. So it's the same thing with our practices. I write it on a piece of paper. I fold it on one end. They get a copy, if I remember to get them a copy. But it's been. Your question was what?
No, I know. It's fine.
What is going on?
Yeah, that's fine. You just traveled your trip. No, just how the experience has been all the way overall. That's all, just so far.
It's been the best experience I've had in coaching.
Good.
Wow. I think some of it is when you are your own boss, in many ways, and you have good people around you, and you have players who want to get better. Then you're able to go ahead and really grow something and expand something. Like I'm huge on the leadership piece. I'm huge on connection and communicating. And what I love is the science of the mind, like the psychology of the mind. How do players go ahead and really become really, really good? Right. And it's a lot of different things. And it's just like regular people, right? For us, we all have triggers in our lives, and our triggers come from what our parents have said, maybe a partner. And it's the same thing with our players.
Yes.
Like, what is triggering them? If I get on a player, if she is not happy, is she unhappy because of my message or because I triggered something that maybe it was her dad had yelled at her, a coach yelled? Like, what is it? I love that part of it. And then solving it. But it's been, they've been super supportive. We went on a huge 2,500-mile road trip to play all these D1s.
Yeah, we talked about that on Ted Show. Yeah, that was.
We'll play
cool.
we play anywhere. We'll play them anywhere.
Right.
I called Arizona. I called Stanford. I always tell them that they're trying to hide from us. I know they're not, but I just do like saying that. But it gives an opportunity. We're going to play a bunch of D1s, and we're going to have different tournaments. We're going to do different things to get people more on campus. It's a great campus.
Yeah.
And we're going to win.
Okay. Great job, Coach. Great job. No, congratulations. Well, I know you went 1-1, but still winning on the road, it's a tough period. So this past trip, at least getting that win while you guys were out, and definitely, I just want to give you a lot of props for maneuvering through COVID-19, because talking to Ted, he kind of broke it down how you guys have been doing it, and Ted's like, hey, I'm enjoying it. I get to travel and have fun with it, but you're pretty much the brains of the operations and trying to make it all happen. So definitely congratulations for doing that, because unfortunately with COVID, there's just not a lot of basketball all over the place, and it's tough because me and Mark talk about it a lot, and especially on the show. We see it at this level affecting more than anybody, because we deal with the grassroots level, right? The kids. We deal with the, you see YBA, all the kids we have in here. Like, I see it hurt them, you know what I mean? And, of course, it's not like they're going to bed crying every night. You know, they're crying to their Xbox or their PlayStation. I mean, but still, when they do that for like, you know, 2 months, you can see it really bothers them. You know what I mean? For 2-3 months straight to be told you can't do nothing, you can't go out. I think Mark's done an incredible job of maneuvering it as a trainer. You know what I mean? He's got his kids at the park. I see your videos. They got gloves and shit on. And
yeah, man, we be out there at 6 a.m.
Yeah, it's
6 a.m.
You got to do it.
Right.
You got, and I think one of the things too, we've talked to other coaches, they've had a bunch of shutdowns because of testing. We've been very blessed. Like, we haven't had one COVID positive test. And you know, we practice early. We're there at 5 a.m. right?
Hey.
So we get there. We have practice from 5 to 7 or 7:30. Then they have weights. Then we have player development groups during the course of the day. So they're busy. I mean, the reality is that our young people need to be active.
Yes.
You know, but they also have to. They're also very resilient. You know, and when you give them something like, hey, you got to wear your mask, or you got to wear your glove, you know, they'll do it.
Yes.
Because they want to go ahead and be out there. And it's those things, and you just have to. It's just like parenting. Sometimes you just got to trust your kid just a little bit more. You may not want to do it, I get it, but you got to trust them just a little bit more so that they can grow it with it and everything else. So like you said, we traveled this week, went to Arizona. You know, think about this. Like we got to travel Thursday. We travel Thursday night. We play Friday at 4. Then we have our next game Saturday is less than 24 hours. So we've got to go to dinner. We've got to do film. We've got to make sure they're safe.
Yes.
You know, and then we got to play another game. Then we got to jump on another plane that everyone's like all freaking out because we're on a plane.
Right.
You know, and you just say, hey, and I think it's a mindset, right?
Yes.
Hey, we're going to do this. You understand what could possibly happen, but let's have sanitizer. Let's lather up.
Right. Do everything you can.
I mean, my hands are chapped because I put so much especially in Arizona, because Arizona's open. So you're like, man, don't touch me.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. You're absolutely right. No, well, I also want to talk more just about everything that you do outside of coaching, because, you know, the author, I listen to your podcast. These guys know, and I don't know if you ever seen my social media, but I work at UPS in the middle of fucking night, right? So that's when I do all my most learning, because quite honestly, it's brainless work. You know, I'm just physically doing what I need to do, but I'm always listening. I'm always learning. So I listen to podcasts. That's even where I came up with kind of the idea of doing this. You know what I mean? Because I listen to Joe Rogan a little bit, but I really listen to Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what? I can do that. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I was thinking in my head. We could easily do that, right? And so I was listening to yours, and a couple of them I really liked when you talked to Nolan Smith.
Oh yeah.
I like that one. It was one lady too, Erica Lambert. She was so just listening to that, and just listening to how you were talking and the things you were talking about. You again, and I talked about it with Meg. You seem like, and even just talking to you now, you seem to have really great energy. Like, you're a good energy guy. I'm just curious, where does that come from? Is it just because I would say is the motivation your kids, but it sounds like your kids are grown now. So you know what I mean? So you're good there. But I'm just saying, what still keeps you, you know, going? Is it just the passion for the game, or just kind of where does that come from for you?
You know, it really comes down to understanding, I think, that you yourself are a light for others, right? Like, before COVID, I would high five the checkout person at the supermarket, right? Because, you know, like, first of all, a high five is so not threatening, right? Handshake's too formal. Hug is like, whoa, who are you?
Right.
High five, it's more like, oh, you know, and then you get a smile, right? I think when you look at life, everybody goes through life. Everybody's looking for a way to be comfortable in life, right? So once they get comfortable, then they become stagnant.
Very cool.
And then they're like, all right, I have my life, I have this. And then their energy goes low because they are comfortable. But what if it's the other way? What if I can go ahead and give energy to other people? Like, how can I maybe, I don't want to say maybe it's a little egotistical, inspire them, but maybe it's that one thing that could flip it for them. You know, maybe it's, you know, if you're at a waitress, my son does it now too. Every time we go to a restaurant, you got to learn the waitress's name. Hey, what's your name? Before anything else. And we call her by name the whole time.
That's nice.
Right? It's those little things that, and then what happens is once you keep doing it over and over again, you start understanding your own personal power, right? That's the one end. The other end then is, how can I take that personal power and then apply it to myself? So a lot of it is, how can I follow the advice that I give to others, right? Like, and it's a struggle.
Yeah.
I'm going to give people advice, then how do I follow it? And that gives me the personal power and the responsibility with it. And I think just over time, you just see the impact that you make with people. And I think what I wanted to do is, when I was a high school coach, and I was an AAU coach as well too, like, you have an impact to kids.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're going to grow into adults. But now, how can I take the impact with kids, and how can I now make the impact at the person at Nordstrom Rack, or how can I do it at Kohl's, or how can I do with parents? All those things where now they become your fans, right? So I read this book, something about fans, like, you got raving fans.
Okay.
Like, and that's how you get people to start following you and what you do, because they have to be a fan of you. Your message could be great, but what is the hook? So the hook is energy. The hook is laughing. Like, I do pictures with my kids. I'm like, we have to have a fake laughing photo session, right? Because when you have like a fake laugh, right? Like, there's energy in that, and people love pictures. So we're always doing fake laugh. I have to teach my son how to fake laugh. You know, you got to lean forward and laugh forward. Right. You know, but imagine, like, when someone sees that, they're like, yo, I want that energy. Right. I want to be a part of that. Okay. And that's really where it comes from. Right. You know, because the world is already a mess. You know, so why dwell on it? Like, I don't watch the news. Yeah. The only news I get is on Twitter. People think I'm crazy, but I'm like, I'm not going to watch that. I'll like the things that I want, but I get to control my life. And again, it goes back. How do I want my kids? My dad was 50 when I was born, so he was already a guy who didn't talk. Right? He was 50. He loved his glass of whiskey every day. Right? Didn't talk a whole lot. Grown man. He's grown. You know, but I know that I was like, no, I love my dad, but I want to be different than that. And that's the long answer, but that's how I try and live.
Something that I wanted to ask you, just listening to you, and like, just like Chris, you know, like, I was looking at your IG and everything, and a lot of like what I do, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, you know, I know Chris is coaching and you're a coach as well. You were just talking about how trying to inspire people, and I noticed that you're big with the whole mindset, and and with what I do with GGT basketball, you know, our motto is, you know, passion, obsession, drive, and a lot of that I use that, you know, from my past, you know, of the struggle and the journey that I went through, you know, playing JUCO and AIA, going to the Philippines and going through that grind, and I carry that on to the players that I train. And coming from you, in your opinion, like, I believe, right, and this is just how I used to always believe, even without any trainers or mentors, is I tell a lot of my kids, and I know that everybody's not going to make it, like, I believe, like, if I train a kid, and some of the things that we do, how we train, is go for the top, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the kids, like, everybody always says, I always hear coaches, they know, you got to be realistic. You know, everybody's not going to make it to the NBA, you know, not everybody's going to go D1. And to me, I hate that. Like, you know, and I know everybody's different, but me personally, I'm a type of person where, no, like, fuck that. Like, you know, if you going to put in the work, right? If you going to have the mindset of like, all right, well, I want to play D2 college basketball, which is nothing wrong with that. I believe, well, now you're already settling to the point where your work ethic and what you're chasing is going to be different compared to maybe you're not a D1 or an NBA potential project player, but you have that mindset of trying to chase that, that I feel that for me, with the players that I work with, you know what I'm saying, especially coming in the area, you know, Solano County, Yolo County, that is going to start weeding out the players who really are going to try to chase that. And so I've always believed, and that's how I talk to my players, and that's what I do on my social media, you know what I'm saying, and is I always say, you know, aim for the stars, worst case scenario, you land on the moon, just because the mindset is you're working like you're trying to be great, regardless of what everybody says, you know, no matter where you're from. So I kind of wanted your opinion from that. Is like, you know, like I said, I'm a personal trainer, but a lot of the stuff, like I read, and like Chris, I listen to a lot of podcasts, I watch a lot of basketball and everything like that. Do you feel, you know, is it all about being realistic, or yes, you should try to exceed your limits and everything, like, because that's how I kind of like with GGT basketball, that's what it's about. And I know a lot of people, a lot of kids some of them are kind of looking at me like, oh, okay, damn, I can't train for him because, I'm just trying to make the varsity team. You know, and with me, I'm like, nah, like, I have my own personal goals where, I'm trying to make dogs. Like, I'm trying to get kids out of here that actually make it. So I kind of wanted your perspective of that. Like, is it too much to think too big, or do you have to kind of be like with the norm and just, just be realistic?
Yeah, no, I think there's a few parts to that, that we could unwrap. I think the first part is understanding what inspires them. So I like to use the word inspire over motivation, because motivation is a feeling, right? And feelings come and go. So like, I feel like working out today. I don't feel like working out today. I don't feel motivated, right? So then it comes down to what is really inspiring me. And a lot of that comes from the mindset and where you look at it. If something is too easy, you won't be inspired. If something is way too hard, you'll try and then you'll give up. But you need that middle point. So picture this. Picture like a mountain, right? So anytime we talk to our players, it's a mountain. We got to get to the top, right? So most players look at the top and like, wow, that's kind of high. Parents, they look at the top like, oh, honey, that's too high. I don't want you going up there.
Exactly.
Right? So now what you want to do is you take the mountain and flip it. So the mountain top is at the bottom, okay? And now it's going up. So now basically what you're telling your players, like, listen, so now they're not looking up at the mountain. What they're saying is, all I have to be is one notch better than this person, which is now much more realistic, right? All I got to be is one. This is the best shooter in the country. I got to make one more shot.
Yeah.
Then what happens, that player says, you know what? I think I can do this. If I put the work in, I can do this. The other part why that's so important is because what happens that kids, athletes today, they are always comparing. And they're always comparing because mom and dad, you're comparing to, oh, this person got an offer, this person didn't get an offer, and your kids hear it. So they feel that pressure. But now when it's more like, yo, all I got to be is one notch better, I can do it. And then that answers your question. Because now when they got to be one notch better, they're going to go for the best they could possibly be. Yeah. Right. But it's just flipping that mindset with it. I did some talk 2 years ago. I said, guys, this is how you got to look at it. It's not how great they are. The reality is that everybody sucks and you got to be one notch higher. That's it. And if you're one notch higher than someone who's average, you're already above average.
Then you're above average.
Right. And you're
like
good.
That.
I like that.
That is very cool. Very cool. Well, again, like I said, I want to pick your brain as a coach now, right? Really, flip the switch with being the head coach, especially with your girls. And I'm glad we kind of, I shouldn't say kind of, there's a plan to all this, but no, just talking about the psychology and mentality of athletes and getting them to where they want to go. And I was just curious, coach to coach, just talking about those things because, you work with young women right now, young adult women. I work with sixth graders. That's two totally different mentalities, two totally different minds. But I believe we both have the same end game, which is we're trying to motivate and we're trying to teach. We're trying to, adjust. And there is an objective. Obviously, there's a fine. I always talk about the infinite because I love this. Well, he's a public speaker, philosopher, and author, Simon Sinek. Yeah. Hopefully I said that right, but I know I said his first name right. But I love his book, The Infinite Game. I talked about that on a few episodes. It's the infinite versus the finite, right? The finite game is the game itself, right? When my sixth graders walk onto the court and play that game, that's the finite because it's two teams, two opposing forces with an agreed upon set rules, and there's a winner and a loser. That's the finite. But the infinite game for me, right, is I'm trying to raise productive, good young men and women. That's the infinite. If they go out in life and they're 30-something years old with their own kids and they're telling me about, Coach, the things you taught me helped me to become a great person. They taught me to learn about work ethic, learn about perseverance. Like, that's the infinite game for me, right? So I'm just curious how you apply those things to your girls, assuming you do, and I kind of feel like I get that from you. You do. One thing, again, like there's certain things we say as coaches that even I kind of think need to be adjusted or amended is like, you don't coach effort, right? We don't coach effort, or, I'm trying to build leaders. Now, again, it sometimes seems a little too broad for that. You know what I mean? To say I should never have to coach effort. Okay, you're right. Yes, I'm not saying a coach isn't right when they're saying that, but there's different aspects to it, right? Because different things give different players effort. You know what I mean? Like my rebounder effort isn't going to be the same as my point guard's effort. You know, and I need to keep in mind that they have two different backgrounds. Their inspiration, right, might come from two different places. You know what I mean? And then also saying, oh, I want all my kids to be leaders. Well, I do, but every kid's not a leader per se. You know what I mean? They can lead in other ways. You know what I mean? Just because a kid's quiet doesn't mean that he's passive, doesn't mean that he's a beta, right? It just means that his leadership might come from just physically doing it, you know, or another one who his leadership might come from being very vocal. I mean, you know what I mean? I just wonder, as a head coach, how are you applying that for you and your program and your players and things like that?
Right. I think you really hit on an effort piece, which I think is so important, because a lot of coaches say that, like, I shouldn't have to coach effort. But I always remind coaches and leaders in general, like, your players' definition of effort comes from how they are raised, right? So if mom or dad is saying, hey, I just want you to do your best, right? What kind of effort level does that look like, right? And then when you have a mom or dad who is just like, you better run your ass off, that's a different effort level.
Right.
So then it's always like gearing your drills in some ways on effort and encouraging mistakes, right? So I don't know if Ted told you, we did this drill. Everyone does it. It's I don't even know what we call it 42 and 2. I don't even know why we call it that, but it's a full court. You have like the team on one side, then you have two people with the ball, and you're running a weave, and then you have 3-pointers and then a layup, and you go back and forth.
Okay.
Right? So the goal is to make like 165 or 170 at the day. Well, it took them an hour 15 minutes, right? So an hour and 15 minutes, they got to get that. Now, what does that teach them? Well, first of all, you got to make shots. Yeah. First of all, it's hard. Yeah. And in order to get to that point, there has to be some sort of effort level, because it's timed for 3 minutes to get there. So that's teaching them that. We do another thing where we play full court games where based on how much time is left on the shot clock, that's your point total. So there's 24 seconds left on the shot clock and you made it, it's 24-0. Oh. Wow. So now what happens, the game could be like 150-8, but no one is ever out, because the team with 8 points can go ahead and score 24, 24, 24, or whatever, right. And now they're in it. So that teaches them resiliency, never giving up, that if they go even more effort, then you're going to conquer that.
I'm stealing that drill.
No, that's, it's
I like that. No, I'm about to steal that. I like that.
And then we do a Maryland shooting drill where there's 3 spots, and it's literally chaos. Ted has posted on the story where there's basketballs flying everywhere. People are cutting everywhere. Yeah. And you're teaching them that you got to make the shot. If you don't, you got to go chase you on the rebound. Then you got to have the right effort to get back in line to do it. So it's all these things. Now, I get on the team for effort. We got to have better effort.
Right.
But now it's they're going hard. But then it's also understanding each player and what is their definition of effort, what is their definition of leadership, all those things. And I told Megan and Ted when I first got the job, like, you guys are assistant coaches. So how can you lead, right? Here's what you have to do. You have to be able to change behavior in the middle of a game, in the middle of a workout, to get them going in that direction. If you do not, then you are not being a good leader. Now, that does mean you're going to have to solve it, right? Yeah. But that means you're going to have to, you got to inspire change in someone. If you're not inspiring change, then maybe it's not. And for me, I used to record myself in practice, so I listen. How much do I talk? How much do I not? And one of my players said, Coach, there's sometimes you get really upset and you just go off for like 10 minutes. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're right. I should probably not do that. I'll bring that down. Right. So it's all of those things that I think combines together. But so we do too. We have a notebook of every single one of our players, and we write down the conversations and their behaviors on that piece of paper. So now we're able to attack it better.
That's good.
And one of that part of that is that there's a connection piece with it, because now when I'm able to bring something back from a conversation we've had before, they take it in 2 ways. They either will take it that I'm throwing it in their face, or I'm listening. And they'll usually take that I'm listening, and that means they'll be more present and noticing things more and more. Then the other part, what we do is that you have to notice your teammates.
Yeah.
Like if someone got new shoes, like, yo, I like your shoes. You know, you got a new shirt.
Yeah.
Like you say that, and then what happens? You're in the moment. You're no longer thinking ahead of time with that. And I'll give you one more thing. I apologize. The other part, we do visualization.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things that we have found is that when you talk to players, like, hey, did you think about the game? Like, what'd you think about? Like, well, I thought about, scoring 30 points and making all my shots, right? Here's the thing. Your mind does not know the difference between a reality or fantasy. So if I keep saying that I'm going to make every shot, your mind believes that you did. And then what happens? You play a game, you miss your first 2 shots, and now your mind is in the shitter.
Yeah.
And then you're gone. So we visualize mismakes, visualize being yelled at by the coaches, visualize turnovers, visualize all these things when you get subbed out. So now you are already mentally trained to take it. So you're no longer sitting on the bench like, can't believe coach took me out, man. What's going on with this stuff?
You know, you expect it.
Yeah, you expect it, and you've already visualized it and actually lived through it, so that now you're so much better prepared for it. And these are some of the things that we've had to work really hard on. And really, my son and my daughter has been my guinea pigs.
Right.
So it's worked for them for the most part, and it seems to be working with the team a little bit.
No, that's good. Well, and this goes back to what we were talking about with Ted and Meg, and I'm sure you heard the shows, but they had nothing but admiration and great things to say about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And
you did say a short joke the last one.
Yeah, you like that? You like that?
I laughed at it. I stopped. I was like, that was pretty good.
That's why I should stop probably drinking on the show, I guess. But I just thought, it's really cool to hear your perspective, because the really cool part is with your background, especially when because I do have a lot of parents, and especially YBA parents that listen to my show. The things you're saying are a lot of reminiscent of the things me and him preach to a lot of our kids. Mm-hmm. But sometimes the kids, they think it's because we're in front of them and they know us and they love us and we become more like family to them. They still sometimes see us as like far removed from college coaches, or the coaches they see on TV, the D1 coaches. They're like, you don't know what you're talking about. We're like, no, I'm telling you, this is what a college coach says. And they're like, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? It's like, so I'm glad to hear, because it ain't like I'm prompting you to say this shit. You're saying it yourself, and it's like, hopefully they're hearing this and listening to it. So that's really cool. Yeah.
The other thing too, real quickly, sorry. One of the things is, I think as coaches, we have to update how we coach, right? Mm-hmm. So we coach and train the way we were coached and trained.
Yes.
Right? We lead the way we were led, right? So it's so important for us to continue to kind of like expand how we do things and why we do things and what we do things, right? Like, it's so, for example, like even one of our, like I know when I was coaching younger, I tell people, you got to drive, then you jump stop at the free throw line, then you make it. And I'm like, we're not jump stopping.
Right.
You keep your dribble alive, then you dribble around like Steve Nash. Like, what do we do? We're not doing any of that stuff. Yeah. But it's like, it's how we update, our iPhones, we get new cars, we get whatever. But we don't update the coaching. Yeah. So how can we update it with everything else? And the same thing with parenting, right? As a parent, we parent the way we were parented. Mm-hmm. But what if that's not the best way?
Right.
Like I love Thanksgiving. I love to cook the turkey, and my mom would just stuff a turkey with stuffing and put in the oven, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is the best turkey ever." I'm like, "No, it's not. It's dry, right? It's dry. Why are we saying this?
You got to deep fry it.
Yeah, we got to put more gravy, right?" So as I got older, I deep fried it, and then I would also brine it as well too. Nice. So now, no, this is the best turkey ever.
That.
Right?
I like that.
So it's those things that I think that we have to challenge ourselves. But it goes back to what we said earlier. Like, when you're comfortable, you become stagnant. You stop looking at new ways to do it. And then what I found is that people find new ways to coach or teach, but they're kind of boring.
Right.
Like you can't be the smartest person in the room. You got to be the somewhat smart, but the most entertaining person.
Right.
It's just like karaoke. Being half Filipino, love karaoke. I don't know if you love karaoke, but it's not about. And I know like my range, right? My range is Backstreet Boys. That's it. We're going Backstreet Boys. I want it that way. It's all we're doing. But you go out there and you perform.
Yeah.
They don't
Very
care, like
cool.
they don't care about how you sing,
Right,
but
right,
you go
right.
out there, you throw
Just
the
have
mic
some
and
fun,
someone's
right.
it's the
I
same
like that.
thing with everything, man.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I want to keep going, but no, it's cute. We still got other stuff to talk about. But no, this is great. I'm really excited. No, well, we're going to switch gears, talk about the NBA.
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
we always got to talk about the
man.
current events with this one. First off, what's your favorite NBA team? Do you have a favorite NBA team?
For years it was the Dallas Mavericks when Jason Kidd was there, because
Nice.
that was like
Appreciate
my
it.
first Dallas Mavs hat.
I'm from Oakland, so I
Okay,
can
so
really
you get- yeah.
appreciate that. I'm an Oakland guy.
And I know some stories on Jason Kidd and his ex-wife, but I'm not going to share it. No one can share it. But all good stuff though. But and then like the Clippers, I was a huge Clippers
Yeah.
fan. And then now it's just more like players trying to see
Right.
how they do things and
Absolutely.
everything else.
Okay, I can dig it. Well, the first gossip or piece of gossip, I was just giving a quick update because I talked about it last episode, so I just want to talk about it now. So I guess there's more news for this Larsa Pippen situation. I don't know if you've been hearing
my
about it, but remember I
God.
talked about so.
I tell you, that lady.
Yeah, that's just very interesting. But
It's crazy.
and it's funny. I met Scottie Pippen when I was because I went to college in Chicago.
Okay.
And to pay for college, well, I mean, I was on a scholarship, but books, food,
Yeah.
3 meals a day ain't enough, right? So, I was a bartender, and so I would, go to school, practice, whatever. And then on the weekends, I'd be at the bar. Scottie Pippen liked to go to the bar a lot, and at least the one I was, and he was definitely earned his reputation of no tip Pippen. Like he does not, he don't tip. He is cheap as hell. I was like, this motherfucker right here. Like other bartenders would be like, we ain't you get him. I ain't getting him. He ain't tip. So no tip Pippen is for a real thing. So there's a lot of weird shit going on with that family. But no, either way, with Larsa, the quick update is, so remember last episode I was talking about how LeBron James Jr. got brought up in this craziness somehow just because he liked one of her photos, not keeping in mind that him and Scottie Pippen Jr. are like great friends. They're like, hella close. So people were trying to, one of the media sites, BSO, Black Sports Online, they ran with this crazy ass article talking about how Larsa Pippen was like trying to hit on LeBron James Jr. Well, Larsa clapped back, and she about to sue their ass.
Yeah,
she should.
And she should, absolutely.
That is,
Again, I'm not even gonna get way into what she's doing. That's a grown ass woman. She can
yeah,
do what she
yeah.
want. But when
She's done a few things.
yeah. But shame, shame on the media, or at least Black Sports, online, whoever their publishers are, or whatever. Shame on you guys for running with some type of dumbass story like this without any evidence, without anything. That's when you're really crossing the line. Of course, if you're in the social world, you're gonna you got to take some hits. There's just no doubt about it. I mean, I see the shit they say about LeBron James on those comments all the time. I'm like, man, how does this man? But he takes it all in stride to me in the best way. And then, of course, you got like the KDs who they'll respond to your ass. They don't care. They be like, you think I'm a punk? Okay,
Right.
well, like, hey, I think you a bitch too. Like, I mean, that's this is how they. And again, I'm not mad at it. Like, but when you got media sites doing stuff like that, shame on you guys, and that's totally out of line. So
clout chasing.
yeah, exactly.
Get clout.
Just saw the story, saw the name, and basically made some bullshit. Like, y'all, that's when it's just too much for me.
Can we just talk real quickly about Scottie Pippen in general, though?
Yeah.
Like, there's a part of me that really feels for the guy
Yes.
because, like, went to small school, got to the Bulls, could never get over Jordan's shadow.
Yes.
Right. And then, they do the Jordan documentary, which does not look good on him at all. And he's upset.
Right.
Then he's got his ex-wife, and his other sons got to deal with it. Like, can you imagine? He's probably like sitting there like, Ken, and then they were like, they made fun because he looked like California Raisin back in the day. They had those T-shirts. Like, I mean, like, can you feel for the dude? I'm like, man.
At least I put it like this. At least he gets to cry in a bag of money.
That's true. Yeah. That is so true.
I said he's crying in a bag of money while everybody else is crying at Walmart. So, I'm like, hey, man, and you're right, because I don't think a man deserves that. A man can only take so much. So,
Still top 50. Top 50 in the
exactly.
NBA.
So,
50.
Scotty, bro, I know you'll probably never hear this, but if you do, man, hey, hang in there, brother. We feel for you. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh, man.
You knew that was
Lakers in 4. Lakers in 4.
Yeah, he's a Lakers fan, if you couldn't tell.
4. Lakers in 4.
I'm definitely a Warriors fan. That's my thing.
Yeah.
But no, Charles Barkley, I think, said it best, and I'm not big on quoting Charles because he's always hated on my Warriors. But he said this is going to be the best soap opera in the NBA, and he ain't lying because it's damn sure got all the storylines you want.
No, you can't. I
saw this 5-minute video this one YouTuber made. Just run across YouTube. Our phones know it's better than us, but he basically said, what if Kyrie planned this? Like he planned to act like this to make teams deter from recruiting him because he knew James Harden. And again, I'm not saying the man ain't intelligent, but I'm like,
interesting.
I don't know. That seems like a stretch for me. Do you guys think it's possible Kyrie literally planned to act crazy like this to make teams not want to recruit him so James Harden can come?
No, well, I mean, let's talk about Kyrie in general.
Right.
Kyrie is just a different dude.
Yes. Yeah.
He is a different dude.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
He gets in his own thoughts.
Yes.
He says like there's one time he wasn't going to talk to the media the whole time. No, this is like who he is.
Yes.
Like he was like that at Duke. He was there. He played like 8 games. At Duke was the second pick of the NBA draft or whatever.
Right.
But like he is just that type of a guy. Like he's with the Celtics. He's in, to me, the best situation you possibly can be, and he found a way to get out of it. Found a way to get out of it with Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's with KD, and James Harden. I mean, like I know everyone's gonna talk like who's gonna pass the ball, who's gonna finish the game,
who's gonna sacrifice, who's gonna be the third option, of course. Yeah.
None of them are gonna be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you talk about the debut, James Harden, his
Triple-double.
record, triple-double, isn't he the only one? Or no, the biggest one of NBA debut, or NBA new team debut, triple-double or something like that. Or maybe I'm saying the damn statistic wrong. But still, I mean, he had 32-something, and then KD had 42.
Yeah.
I mean.
But does the regular season even count?
So that's why that was what I was going to
They were just taking turns. All right, your turn, my turn.
Paul George is a great regular season player.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Oh, it's a regular season game. I'll put my money on him. Playoff?
Nope.
No.
I feel like the situation that when Kyrie gets back, because, remember, D'Antoni is an assistant there.
Yeah.
And I feel the style of play of what they're going to try to create, like I said, I don't think nobody's going to sacrifice. I believe the way D'Antoni and Steve Nash, I mean, I could be wrong, it's just going to be run and gun, all-star basketball. Those three are just going to score. And, I mean, that's what, from watching the game last night, I mean, it's only Orlando. Like I said, it was just a lot of my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. And if Kyrie gets in that, Kyrie, if you're looking at it on paper, Kyrie is supposed to be the third option. You got 2 MVPs. Like you said, Kyrie different. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think he's gonna be the Kevin Love, Chris Bosh. You know what I'm saying?
No, he doesn't want that.
Yeah.
And I think what may end up happening is that, D'Antoni is controlling that because Nash's first year NBA head coach.
Yeah.
And it's all based on personalities. Like D'Antoni loves Harden. Harden loves D'Antoni. So who's going to get the ball in game 82 playoffs? It's going to be Harden. It's going to be Harden and Durant, and Kyrie's going to be a spot-up shooter who's like, that's not my game. And he's, that's just going to be, it's going to be so interesting.
Yes. And then, there was 2 points to the 2 people that spoke on it that I thought was, I just thought they were pretty cool perspective. So I'll tell it to you guys and get your thoughts on it. Chris Broussard said, he said, I don't think the Nets are going to win the finals. He was like, he doesn't even know and he's one of the analysts I actually like to listen to and really respect. He was like, I don't know if they're going to make it to the finals. I don't know if they're going to win the finals. He's like, I don't have them beating the Lakers and LeBron. But he said, he said a great quote. They have a fighter's chance, a sucker punch chance. You know what I mean? Because they have just that much talent that they might just somehow pull it off. Do you guys think that's possible? I don't see it personally, but I
don't think so. I just Kyrie Irving is not a guy, in my opinion, who brings up championships. Right? I think Harden can do it. I think the style of play hurt him a little bit in Houston in crunch time. I think Durant has the ability to do it as well too when he was with the Warriors. I just think Kyrie's just different. I mean, the other part is I think Kyrie was with the Nets last year, or this is the first year with the Nets?
His first year. Yep.
So
he was there last year.
He was there last year.
He was on and
That's
off.
right. And he's always injured.
Okay, he's always injured. Yes.
And the Nets played better when he was off the court.
Yeah.
And it was like that with the Celtics as well too.
Yeah.
Just announcers won't say it as much because then he'll really and he's the president of the Players Union or whatever. But they do have a fighter's chance.
Yeah, right. What about you, Mark?
I mean, like I said, of course, I'm a Lakers fan. But
of course.
At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? There's definitely a possibility just because, like I said, there's just so much firepower. But I don't know, man. To me, what I'm just looking at is like, I don't understand why Kyrie is acting this way because, like I said, he's a Kobe guy. He's like, that's supposed to be his mentor. You know what I'm saying? And to see some of the stuff that he's doing and the way he's acting right now, it's like that's not, I don't know, that's not what Kobe would do, you know, and that's somebody that I know that he really respected and the things that he's doing right now. Like, who knows what's going on right now in his life? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we can't really judge. Yeah. Maybe he's really going through some crazy shit right now. Yeah. You know, but at the same time, it's just, you know, watching the videos, you know, of, you know, partying, you know, with his at his sister's birthday, no mask, knowing that, you know, these are the things that you're supposed to do to help your team, but you're not doing that. I feel like, I don't know, that's not winning basketball.
I agree.
So, I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll
see. And then the only last point before we move on to the other stuff was Steven Jackson said something, and again, I don't think he was saying it like in a mean way in reference to James Harden, but it just was one of those interesting things that I brought up because, you know, just being real, you know, I'm a black man, I'm a black coach, you know, so I empathize with it, like. But he said, you know, the way James Harden acted and the coach of the Rockets, why can't I think of his name right now?
It's like Steven
Silas,
right? Right.
Yep.
You know, and he's, you know, he's first year coach, a, you know, hardworking brother or whatever. And
20 years as an assistant.
Yeah. And Steven Jackson just said, man, dude, like, you know how hard it is for us brothers to get in a position to coach in the NBA, and you the way you did this guy was just like, you know, it was fucked up. Like, he just basically, you know, how Steven Jackson is, you know, Stacks is like, keep it a 100 the whole time. He said, man, that's fucked up. He's like, you got a brother who's trying to be in this position. He's like, okay, true, if you wanted out, you didn't like it, but you didn't have to do him like that, because at the end of the day, the coaches get hurt a lot more in the NBA than the NBA players do, and you're a star in the league. So he's like, anything that you do is going to be a negative reflection on him, even though everyone knows he has nothing to do with it. It's just how it works in the business, right? Like, you know, when Paul George in the Clippers and that blew up, you know, the first one to get the boot was Doc Rivers. You know what I mean? And I just thought that and not to say, you know, you guys agree or don't agree. I just thought that was a pretty interesting point to bring up, because I never thought about it, honestly. I didn't think about how it is, because there isn't a lot of African-American coaches, you know, in the NBA, and for one to get this position and then be done like that, you know what I mean? That's a pretty tough situation to put him in.
Well, I mean, Stephen A. Smith should know too. I mean, the NBA, the coach in the NBA, like, these dudes are challenging the coaches every day. Yeah. Like, you know, hey, we're going to play pick and we're going to ice the pick and roll. Do you think we should really ice the pick and roll is what they'll say? I saw when I would go to the Celtics practices, like, you know, Garnett, those guys would test the assistant coaches to see if they know exactly what they're doing. Right. So it's all of like these different respect factors that come with it. And I don't know if just people in general has the know it all to be like, hey, I'm going to take care of this dude, or I'm going to take care. I think they just, like, at the end of the day, it's like, what can I get, you know, with it. And it's tough. I mean, it's tough, and Harden didn't want to be there. He made it known, and
he made it very clear.
I don't think it was. I mean, of course, at the end of the day, like, you know, like I said, Silas, 20 years as an assistant, and he's here. Finally, he gets his big break. But I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like with Harden, that has nothing. I don't think it's fair at the same time for Harden, because he still has he's trying to get a ring. So I feel like it's not that, because at the same time, it's like, what? Harden doesn't have to stay there just to make sure Coach Silas for the African-American community. True. You know what I'm saying? Like, he still has his own life of what he's trying to chase. So, I mean, I don't know, because I remember him saying that. I was watching that when he said that, and I was, because I like Steven Jackson, but I remember when he said that, I was kind of thinking like, wait, But I mean, Harden still has his own agenda. Like,
right.
So what he's supposed to, all right, let me stay at Houston so I can help Silas, you know, because he's been an assistant for 20 years. Let me stay here. Like, no, like, it seemed that Harden, to be honest, I'm pretty sure he's been thinking about this since last year, trying to get out of there before they even said Silas was going to be the coach, you know, as an African American coach. So,
right.
So I don't know. I thought it's not that it's not fair for Harden to be. It's just the way Harden did stuff. You know what I'm saying? So
I think that's what mostly I would like to believe. I can't presume to know what this man's man's thinking, but I would like to think that that's what mainly he was just trying to reiterate is like you didn't have to go out like that. Like there's a certain way to request trades and things like that, and you probably know more than me because you've been and seen some of those atmospheres. But there's probably a way to go about it the right way. You know what I'm saying? But either way, it seems like each party's moved on and they're trying to make their way. So you know, shout out to those organizations.
Houston low key is still solid.
Yeah,
though.
they are. No, they are a
solid
solid team.
Yeah.
It's not like they're this pushover now.
Yeah.
It's just they're they basically. They've solidified the top guy in middle school because that's how many damn first round picks they got.
Yeah.
So they're
funny.
scouting for the next top 7th grader. You guys out there, be ready. All right. So I wanted to talk about YBA open back up. So definitely very happy about that. Very happy about that. I want to make cheers for that one because we open back up and not only are open back up, it seems like the state's opening back up. So, you know, that's a good thing, at least in our county, right? Sacramento, everywhere else. My 8th grade and my 16U played this weekend over in Rancho. So then they both won, you know. So
Congrats.
My 16U guys are a really good team. If there was ever a team I would suggest, well, come check out is my 16U elite guys. They're pretty freaking good, and they play the right way. These guys have had the chance to kind of experience it and see them and record them and stuff. And no, it's been fun to know that we're opening back up. Also, courtside's opening up this week, so shout out to Elijah One, and they're doing the big MLK tournament. So,
nice.
But I think, as talking to him, I think he's going to try to limit it to a certain amount of teams for COVID and whatnot. So, and again, I know courtside was on the news, on the national news for being a COVID spreader and all that. That is so far from the truth. I'm just telling you guys that from experience. That is not how they get down out there. They have their protocols. They do the best they can, just like any other place that's open. I mean, if the extreme is literally do nothing or a super spreader and there's no in between, that just doesn't make sense. Like, so people, I encourage you to go check it out yourself. Keep your minds open. Like, they're not out here just having kids and families just spread COVID all over the place. So, you know, keep that in mind. On the next thing, next thing I want to talk about is high school. So CIF had said, I talked to one of my buddies who works at the CIF, that they're letting high school basketball happen in certain places.
Really?
I guess, I guess the way it's going to work is, I'm not sure if it's district or county, but they're saying you could play adjacent to your two counties or districts. I gotta make sure I got the wording right, because county is way different than district. But like, for instance, my school, Whitney, we couldn't play Sheldon. You know what I mean? That's too far out of our districts or county. But we can play like El Dorado Hills or Placer, or, you know what I mean? So at least that's something. And the season is probably going to be pretty short. I mean, I heard they're talking, some of them are saying a 10-game season. Some are saying 15-game season. You know, to me, I hope it happens for the seniors. You know what I mean? More than anybody. Obviously, juniors, like sophomores, juniors, for sure, freshmen, you won't be as affected as much, because we're at least anticipating 2 or 3 years from now we'll get this under control. But seniors, keep your head up. I mean, try to have hope. Yeah. I know it's tough, but at least, hey, if you get those 10, 15 games, at least it's something, right? Because you guys know, like, having a senior night, having a high school senior night, I mean, that's stuff you remember. You know what I mean? It's those moments you remember. So
all I know is the guys I've been working with, if they have 10 to 15 games, we've been doing 3 to 4 days for a year. I'm telling you now, they gonna be breaking out. I hope we get the 10 to 15 games. My guys and my girls are waiting. I really hope there is high school basketball.
Yeah, me too. So going into respectfully disrespectful, Coach wanted to pick your brain about this because, again, I love having other coaches' mentalities on this, and you being a college coach. What is your overall opinion of AAU basketball and kind of the culture of AAU basketball? I mean, that's mainly what our show is geared towards.
Yeah.
So I just kind of from your side of things, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think anytime you get a chance to play,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether it's high school, AAU, outside, you're just playing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how you learn. I mean, in our practices, we do our 3 or 4 kind of drills just to get us going, and then we play.
Yeah.
We break it down, we stop and everything else. But I think, I know they're always talking about, I was AAU coach for years. It's like, oh, AAU is this. Now they're playing, and whatever habits they go to college is just habits they have, and it's your job as a college coach to get them going in another direction. So I never ever liked those conversations about like, oh, they're not prepared, or AAU is this, or high school is this. And the same thing with AAU in high school. Like I just always believe like if a high school coach should go ahead and have a good relationship with AAU to see where their kids are playing, and AAU should reach out to the high schools. Hey, what can we do instead of not having conversations?
Right.
Because when you don't have conversations, it's just like on your own team.
Yeah.
If you don't talk to your teammate and your teammate doesn't talk to you because of whatever stuff is going on, then it just ruins it.
Yeah.
So I think it's great. If you could play, you got to play because that's the best way to learn, period.
Okay, good. No, I'm glad you said that because, no, I think that's why I've been able to have success is because I am that AAU coach that talks to varsity high school coaches. I talk to middle school coaches. I'm pretty sure, like in your phone, you got 1 million coaching contacts and people through basketball and things like that. I know all the local high school varsity coaches, and they know me. And they've even told me, they're like, Chris, you want a few coaches that like just come talk to me like this. And the coach at Vanden sends me a bunch of his Vanden guys all the time, and I call him and say, hey, is there something you want me to work on with Elijah? Is there something you want me to work on with Amari? Like, is there something you know what I'm saying? And I believe that should be the relationship we have. It's not. I'm not here to prove that I'm the better coach or that he should be here with me and not you. High school, to me, school basketball is still very valid. High school basketball to me teaches culture, teaches responsibility, time management, how to, those rivalry games, you know what I mean? Those are just atmospheres and things you can't simulate in AAU. Right. So I definitely am one of the type of people that I believe there's validity in both, but I do think both sides need to be able to work together because when I stepped into it, at least, there did seem to be this big wall between the high school varsity programs and the AAU programs. I don't know if you ever caught wind of that or saw it, but it used to bother me. It still bothers me, but I tried to break those barriers, which I've been lucky enough and successful to. Now the barriers I see is AAU programs with other AAU programs because there's like, 2 million of them every other weekend. So now you deal with a bunch of AAU coaches trying to be in a fight for all these different kids and families, and he's my kid. And I'm not. I don't get with that shit. It's just not me. You got any thoughts, Mark?
I guess you're right. You know what I'm saying? I feel like a lot of the stuff that's going on in AAU, you know what I'm saying, is like what you said. As long as they're playing, right? As long as they're playing, as long as they're hooping. To me, I'm always looking at it from a development side. You know what I'm saying? The best way to get better besides working on your game and everything like that is playing. And I feel like the politics and the favoritism, that's in sports and in life. You will never, you know what I'm saying? It's always going to be like that. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, the next thing I want to talk about was there's, and this kind of, me and you would probably see this more than you, Coach, but we were talking about one thing I've been noticing just kind of recent, and maybe it's just because of COVID, I don't know, but there's a lot of trainers opening facilities right now. Like, it's just weird. It's a Sacramento thing where a lot of basketball trainers are getting facilities. I don't know if real estate's opening up because COVID and people didn't make money, so they moved out these warehouses or got the hell out of. I know there's a mass exodus in California. Period. There's a lot of people moving out of California, and so trainers are getting these buildings. I don't know if they're getting government grants. I don't know. I'm just noticing more and more of, because I'm in that training basketball bubble culture, very similar to Mark, that I'm noticing it more and more. And I guess for me, I'm just, my words on it to you guys from, on this show, it's just be careful. It's a lot more responsibility than you realize. And quite honestly, with COVID, it's tough. Our facility here is taking a hit, and I don't know if you know my relationship with like Ken and YBA. So I'm co-director of YBA, but me and Ken are partners basically in this building. So if this building shut down, it really hurts me like it hurts him. You know what I mean? But the difference is Ken's retired and gets a good pension from UPS because he worked here for 30 years and stuff. And so it's it hits him a little less than it does me, right? Yeah. But my advice to you trainers and stuff out there, it's tough right now. So be careful with it. Because I never would have thought, but like the Department of Justice came in here and shut us down. Like two dudes with badges came in and said, "You need to get everyone the fuck out of here. You need to shut down." Never thought that would be in that situation. Right.
But so true. I've seen a bunch of people like opening gyms. I just always say, I just hope they're looking from like a real business perspective.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get leads? How do you go ahead and get people to keep coming through emails? And like, how do you, that's because it's like people want to train, but you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, you got to hustle and you got to have some sort of way to keep getting people in, or not. You start going in a survival way instead of just thriving. And now you're just trying to throw different deals at different people.
And then that's when you become, and that's when you do, the shady things. And sometimes you get a bad reputation. I would like to think, whether people love me or hate me, the overall reputation is I'm pretty consistent. I'm not going to lie to you or sugarcoat shit, not as a coach or a person. So, but again, I'm able to be in that position because, so for me and Ken, the business model here, we dealt with the rent, right? Once you deal with the rent, you can deal with everything else, right? So we've dealt with that. YBA handles the rent, you know what I mean? So then the training, paying the coaches, the practice times, all the other intangibles, we could figure that out later, right? It's very hard to me, at least, when you're a trainer with a facility, if all you do, if your whole facility's functioning is chest training, that's to me where you run into difficulty, right? You know what I'm saying? So, that's, again, because some people might say, "Oh, Chris just hating" or something. No, I'm trying to give you some fucking advice. I'm just trying to tell you, just be careful. I'm not saying don't do it. Just you got to find a way to supplement your costs other than training kids and training athletes, because you have to have something set that is going to generate the revenue, right? That's why I think like Ryan at Touch Shooting, that's why his plan works, because he trains and he does his open runs and stuff, but he started an AAU program. I understand why you started that touch shooting program, because it supplements the cost of the building. You know what I mean? Because the reality is that this building's for everybody, right? We had our heart attack league earlier, with the old guys coming in and stuff like that. We have kids practicing all the time, parents, trainers, the trainers, paying their fees to train. We figured out ways to keep this building, because it's basically a public building. Our kids coming here all the time and all that stuff. To me, it's very hard as a trainer to just survive through training with your own facility, right? Unless you're an NBA trainer. If you're like Rico Hines and some of those guys, you're charging, $2,000 an hour. It must. I'm not doing that. So I need, like what Mark does, to me, is the smartest way to go. Get to a park. Get to a park. We live in California. We have great weather.
One thing that I'm gonna say is I'm being patient, right? Because of course that's something that down the line I want to do. But all I'm going to say is, for GGT, big things are coming. That's all I'm going to say. People that know, they know. That's all I'm going to say.
Good. And last thing before we do our shout-outs and stuff, I did, because, again, this is just current events and something that we definitely need to address and talk about. The inauguration, is this week. And there's a lot of shit around this. Clearly, we had the events of Capitol Hill and how that went down. Obviously, was not something I would have ever thought I would have seen in my lifetime. But you know, it happened, and it seems we're trying to move forward. Sounds like we're trying to move forward, but you know, we live in two different Americas. That's just the sad part about it. We live in two different Americas. You know, I definitely like to believe that California is a little ahead of the curve in terms of obviously our diversity and our acceptance, but we still got pockets of shit out here with, you know, what we're dealing with. Just curious of what you guys think of all that. I mean, I don't, you know, protect your, my advice to everybody out there, anyone listening, tuning in, you know, protect yourself out there. And I'm talking to my minority groups, you know, Black, Asian, Indian, Mexican, like anybody, anything and everything in between. Just be careful, man. You know, you don't know sometimes what people are capable of, and that's what kind of these last 4 years have shown, you know what I mean? But again, like I said last episode, the great part of what it's shown is there's a lot less of them than there is the rest of us. It seems like there's a lot more people that are more for getting rid of all this hate and all this bullshit and moving forward and just loving. Like, of course, we're going to have people we like and don't like, but it seems like people are tired of race being a reason why we dislike somebody. So, you know, just curious what you guys thought.
I mean, I've always just said, you know, it's trying to figure out how to communicate and respect. I mean, it's the same thing on my team. I've got players on one end and I got players on the other end. And, you know, what I've just found in general is that I may disagree with you, but I'm going to hear what you have to say, and you have your own reasons, right? But then the other part I've always said is like, what can I control myself with it? I may not agree, and living in Richmond, Virginia for a year, I lived a block away from a bunch of the protests, and my son and I at protests, we marched up and down, but we a block up where there were fires, there was all these different things, you know, going on. But then you really see how communication can really be a big thing, and how we can agree to disagree. We just have to kind of go in that direction. But it is, I will tell you, like when you're in pockets like in California, maybe, you know, big cities in Dallas, and then like Dallas and Houston, and then you go to maybe Miami or New York and Portland, Oregon, like they're the most diverse places in the country.
Yeah.
Everywhere else isn't.
Yes.
You know, so
right.
So we did a bunch of Zoom calls on race earlier this year. We had like over 200 coaches. And each call, and every coach is like, there's a lot of coaches like, all right, so how do I spark conversation in areas where there is no diversity? And I said, you know, those are tough things, but those are real things too.
Yes, they are.
That has to be addressed. That you know, something that may be common sense for us may not be common sense for people who grew up that way. And so but you're right, just got to be careful and just make sure you just it's going to be a interesting day.
If let's just make it through this week, please.
Yeah.
Well, you got thoughts, Mark?
No, I'm just ready for change. We gonna see what Biden and them do.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, and I like to. I think I'm an optimist. I think I'm an idealist overall. You know, I have my cynical nature, but I think like I like to believe in people. I think, you know, so I think I think the good will outweigh the bad. That's just my personal opinion. I wanted to do a quick shout out to my guy Frank from Team Vision. He came to my practice today, and we just had a good talk. And you know me, when I have good basketball talk with coaches and everything else, I always want to get them a cool shout out. I just my boys should be going to Made Hoops. They've got this tournament going on. It's called Made Hoops. I guess it's towards the end of the month. But he came up because he wants some of my 16U boys to go play with him in that tournament. I'm like you. I just want my boys playing, and then like I don't own my kid. Like that's why I'm very loose with that term, my boy. When I mean my boys, I mean like I coach them and stuff. Right. I know some coaches really mean like that's my player. I'm like, dude, I don't. I'm not on that shit. But no, I think it'd be a great experience because I'm not doing any travel anytime soon. But they can go there, you know, probably play and with some college coaches streaming them and stuff and putting them in a good position. So, Frank, big shout out to you. Appreciate you putting my boys in that situation. Mark, did you have anything to add?
No, I'm good.
All right, well, I do appreciate you being here, Coach.
Thanks for having me, man.
No problem. Thanks for taking your time. I know you got a busy schedule, and you say you got 5 a.m. practice, so I know you got to get a little bit of sleep. No, it's been good. It's been a good way to cap this month off with Jessup January. So no, having Ted here, having Meg here, having you here has been really, really, really cool. Again, I want to reiterate, we appreciate you, those who have been listening, those who've been watching. It's been helping a lot. It's just really encouraging to know that people care what the hell I have to say or Mark has to say. I mean, like if you asked me 20 years ago, I'd be in this position. Fuck no, but here I am. So no, and again, man, thank you for coming out here. I just I love talking to other coaches. I love seeing that basketball is the common ground, right? What I mean? It just and it's great to have it as a medium. So for you guys who are listening, who are watching, please keep staying in tune. I'm gonna keep trying to have great guests here. Of course, my social media, Mark's social media is always out there. We'll have links for you, Coach. We're gonna have links for Coach Hernando's social media. Check his stuff out. Read his book. Check out his podcast. His podcast is great. I've listened to it myself. That's why I said I could tell you're a high energy guy.
I appreciate
it. The way you speak to them is really cool. So check his stuff out. All the links will be in the description. You got anything to add, Mark?
No, thanks, Coach. It was great meeting you.
Likewise, guys. Likewise,
man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, and we are out. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the show. I'm Coach C. Collins.
I'm Coach MJ.
Hey, thank you. We appreciate you. You're awesome for watching this or listening to it and checking it out. Why don't you go ahead and do something for us?
Please make sure you guys like, subscribe, and as well follow us on at Bout That Life on Instagram, as well as our YouTube page.
And we appreciate you. You stay safe, and we are out.